Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi friends, how are you doing today? I hope this video finds you in good health and secure. It's interesting, the places, the mental places, the mental exercises, the study areas that Buddhism takes us to. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Buddhism is simple. Get a proper mandala, enshrine it in an altar so that your mind is in the right frame, like in the video that I posted a month or so ago on presence at the Butsudan. We're enacting and participating in the ceremony in the sky. So when we read in the sutras about going to Eagle Peak or Vulture Peak or whatever translation you happen to be reading, it's not some fanciful, fabled story tale, magical thinking going. So it's mental travel. It's transmigration of the mind. And when we chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo to our Nichiren inscribed mandala, properly enshrined, we are enacting the Treasure Tower chapter of the Lotus Sutra. Yeah. Everything goes up in the air. We're no longer connected, attached to thingifying, right? It's symbolism, it's metaphor, it's whatever language. It's all taking place in the mind so that we can see clearly without the impediments of, but what if I did, if I had more, do I have enough? That's all samsara, right? Our wants, our desires, right? Four Noble Truths, we keep going back to that. So hard for us samsaric beings to get it through our heads that a better job, a better partner, a better house, a better bank account, it makes no difference. My goodness, poets and songwriters have been yakking about this forever. Buddhism is the only thing I've found in all the religions and philosophies and ideas that I've studied. The problem is the stuff. The stuff isn't the problem. It's your mental craving, clinging. Stop it. It's not important. What's important is what's doing the thinking. But we go, oh yeah, I get that. But how does that work? Where does that come from? Who's doing the thinking? How's the thinking happening? What's the thinking from? So Shakyamuni, being an indulgent teacher, okay, I'll tell you. And he ends up digging and digging and digging and digging. And scholarship later on, after he's extinct, gone, people like Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu and so many others, all the way to our modern mentor, Nichiren, right? Answering these questions to the nth degree. And here I am. Not that I put myself in. Nichiren told us we're all to emulate him. So we're all emulating Nichiren, all right? All of us are Nichirens at different levels of development. Let me just say that, right? We're bodhisattvas of the earth. Nichiren, the leader of the bodhisattvas of the earth. Well, one of four, right? I rue the day I had to start wearing glasses. Ah, well, good old age. Anyway, all of this is to say that, the last video I talked about chi, and you go, wow, how's that a Buddhist term? Well, it's a very related subject, It's also interesting to find that in other disciplines, other cultures, other minds have come to very similar, if not almost mirroring, the insights of Shakyamuni Buddha. It helps, and this is the mission here on this channel and with the podcasts. I'm a very skeptical person. And in today's age, with the tremendous amount of distractions we constantly face, I don't see how anyone could survive without being a skeptic. Being a skeptic is a survival mechanism, for crying out loud. There's so much misinformation, fake news, whatever. Truth is whatever you happen to be saying in that moment. And the next moment, if somebody completely or you contradict you, it's like, oh, that's okay, because truth, is fluid. No. How can you have any solidity about your life? What value does your life have if there's no singular path, there's no truth? If everything is constantly make it up as you go, what are you doing? That's just another form of just falling through life, waiting for crap to happen to you. Oh, I guess I'll do this now. Wow. Outstanding. What are you accomplishing? How do you even feel? Life must not have any meaning or substance or value to you at all then. Of course, I'm not saying this to you guys, but we have those moments. We came from them before we started practicing Buddhism. That's why we started practicing Buddhism, because we thought, well, here finally is something that seems to be pointing at an indelible truth. Not a convenient truth, not a this guy's truth or that gal's truth, or not the fashionable truth, but the truth. Boy, it'd be nice to have an anchor like that, to really, really just know. But to know, you have to be pretty confident. How do you get confident about anything? You've got to dig. You've got to dig far enough. Maybe for you it's different than for me, but all of us at some point, some doubt's going to creep in. Well, I got to dig a little further. And that's why study is such an important part of our practice, right? Even meditation and chanting is a form of study, yeah? The more we do something, the more we discover. So that's why I talk about Qi. And today we're going to talk about quantum fluctuations. Don't tune out. I'm not going to, look, there's lots of science educators on YouTube and Google. If you're interested in quantum or quantum fluctuations or quantum gravity, any of those, I'm fascinated by them because they so they're practical terminologies and insights that basically validate everything Shakyamuni said 3,000 years ago. That's amazing. How do things come into being? How does a thought come into being? Well, before a thought can come into being, there has to be a mind to have a thought. Is it just the brain? The brain's involved, absolutely. But the mind, something distinctly different, yeah? Shakyamuni talked about that too. Was it the Surangama Sutra? Gosh, I don't remember. But he was answering a question. Where is the brain? What is the nature of the brain? I have some documents on threefoldlotus.com that are quotations and research about that question. So you can go, and that's free. You can go pick that up and read through it. You can find the sutra and buy a copy of the sutra and read the sutra if you like. But at some point, you're going to come to energy. How does this form? You want to talk about the brain? How does the electricity move through it? What's a synapse? Ultimately, what's it made of? How does it get its tendencies and conditions? You've heard these words many times, but understand it's not about being a scientist, although I would contend Buddhism is a form of science because it's exhaustive dissection of the process, the engine of life. Do you need to know all of that? No. Just invoke it. Myoho Renge Kyo, right? When we invoke Namu, I am now invoking the totality of my innate nature, my mind of clarity. Myoho Renge Kyo. You're just doing it. But for those of us who are like, but what is it I'm doing? Are those magic words? No. They're not even words. They're just placeholders, symbolic caricatures of concepts. What concepts? Oh, here we go. Right? All right, so this is from Wikipedia. So not a scientific journal, all right? So everything I'm going to talk about, chi, quantum fluctuations, anything about it, relates to our Buddhist practice. And actually modernizes, if you will, without introducing fashionable content. We're not practicing McDonald's Buddhism after all, right? We're practicing Shakyamuni's Buddhism, albeit with our modern teacher Nichiren. So all of this reflects on Shakyamuni's words, Nichiren's doctrine, Tendai, so on, the scholarship. In quantum physics, a quantum fluctuation, also known as a vacuum state fluctuation or vacuum fluctuation, they don't even know what to call it, but they've identified it, the process, that's what's important, is the temporary random change, I love that, in the amount of energy in a point in space. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that the very definition of formations? From quiescence to form, that transitory period between no thing and something. There's a becoming part. Right? I mean, listen to how Buddhist that is. This is a definition of quantum fluctuations. Nothing to do with Buddhism. But listen, I'll read that part of the sentence again. It's a temporary, right, moment to moment to moment, random change. We can't quite define the tendencies and conditions here. They're not apparent. In the amount of energy in a point. What's a point? It's a location. It's not a thing. A point in space. But until there's a thing, there is no space. So, boy, they're struggling with words to define this thing, right? Comma, as prescribed by Werner Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Oh, okay, we'll put it on Heisenberg. That way we don't have to find any more words. Heisenberg said it. And this whole thing about random change, temporary energy in a point, which is a no thing space, they've labeled it the uncertainty principle. My friends, do you know what the uncertainty principle is? Don't panic. You remember all of those times you've read in the sutras? I don't know how many times it's repeated in the Lotus Sutra. Not very often, because this was preparatory teaching, right? Self, no self. Non-self. This, not that. Right? There is this, and there is not this, and there's not this, and there's not this. Right? Ad nauseum, throughout Buddhism. What the hell was that talking about? Oh, that's the uncertainty principle. Is it or isn't it? No. Formations. All of this quantum fluctuation is defining scientifically with the greatest minds on the planet the process of formations, the engine of life, karma. I find that so fascinating. These are minute random fluctuations. They're random and they're in a point of no area and they fluctuate and they're random, but they're minute. Okay, another word, let's throw that in there. Random fluctuations in the values, now we're getting technical, of the fields, areas, right? What's a field? Can you touch a field? A football field, yes, but not in science. Fields are just areas where shit happens. That's technical talk for that. Which represent elementary particles. Boy, they love that word particles. And we got to thingify everything. There it is. There's your samsaric problem right there. The sciences want to make material out of everything. And they know they're using the language of energy, but still, we got to thingify. It's a particle, damn it. It's an elementary particle, so elementary we can't see it, but it's a particle. So we end up doing this just gymnastics with words. So, well, yeah, but we know particles aren't, they're not balls of stuff. They're conditions and states of energy. Well, then just say that. Stop calling it a particle. Sounds like you're talking about a marble. Such as, right, they just finished saying elementary particles, elementary forces I would accept better. Such as electric and magnetic fields which represent the electromagnetic force carried by photons, W and Z fields, which carry the weak force, and the gluon fields, which carry the strong force. What happened to your frickin' particle? There's no particle there. There's this turmoil, amalgam of energies, formations, in the language of science. You want to make them all Buddhists? It continues, vacuum fluctuations appear as virtual particles. Oh, they're not particles, but they're in there somewhere. Gosh. Oh, it's frustrating. Which are always created in particle-antiparticle pairs. Is, isn't. Exists, non-exists. Soul, not soul. Teaching, not teaching, not teaching, not no teaching, not on and on. Virtual pairs. There, not there. Which is it? Well, it's a field where everything isn't there and not there and not there and not. That's your quantum fluctuations. Very simple. Just quantum fluctuations. Definitions. It's formations. Since they are created spontaneously, the formations, without a source of energy, quiescence is the source of energy. See, they're so stuck on things. They can't even perceive that there's a predecessor to thing. They're talking about it. They witness the process. They know it's happening, and they still want to make it a thing. It's amazing. Vacuum fluctuations and virtual particles are said to violate the conservation of energy. Yeah, because you refuse to understand. I put in parentheses here, energy here has the dual meaning of energy at work versus energy in quiescence. They can't accept that. They can't accept that energy is always there. No. If it's always there, it must be an elementary particle. No, it's just energy. Until it's put to work, no thing, nomina, is. Right? I mean, how hard is that to understand? Hard, I guess. This is theoretically allowable because the particles annihilate each other within a time limit. There's that time thing. Well, there can't be time without space. There can't be space without time. Determined by the uncertainty principle. We have a principle. That makes it okay. So they are not directly observable. Now, in that last part of that sentence, I'm identifying for all of us that is the Samsaric problem of science. Because everything science blah, blah, blahs about is a convenience for the human eye, ears, brain to observe. They stop at thing, and then everything else becomes mysterious, an uncertainty principle. Shakyamuni saw beyond this. We are practicing something beyond, not because the sciences are stupid, they just refuse to let go of their material love affair. Talk about attachment. Talk about clinging. Do you get it? Clinging? They don't want to let go of thing because that somehow shakes them up. If things aren't things, then what am I? Oh my goodness, I can't do that. What's that? You want an answer? We're a process. We're constantly in process. That's Buddha-ness. That's enlightenment. Understanding that everything is constantly in the process of becoming. It's what we are, a process. Why isn't that fascinating, wonderful, amazing? Why do we have to be a this or a that? Why is that more or better or, huh? It's a biggie. The uncertainty principle states that the uncertainty in energy and time can be related by delta E, delta T, greater than or equal to 1, 2, I forget what the H means, where 1 over 2H is 5.27286 times 10 to the negative 35 joules of energy. Here we go with these minute. If we just measure small enough, we'll get close to. Remember what they first called the Higgs field and the Higgs particle, right? The news headlines, we found it. They called it the God particle. Samsara, samsara, samsara. It has to be a thing. We'll give it the most nonsensical label that we can come up with so that nobody asks us too much about it. So I guess God is the uncertainty principle. Then the article goes on to say, this means that pairs of virtual particles, it's interesting. So the anti-particle, the non-particle, and the particle are both virtual. So neither one of them exists. Again, I'm hearing Buddhism. The this, not this, the not this, and the not this. It's formations. is nothing. It's just energy coming like a tornado. Little minuscule Max Planck tornadoes. Right? With energy delta E and lifetime shorter than delta T are, quote, continually created and annihilated in empty space. Now, I found that, and I bolded it because I want to remind you, when Buddhism talks about emptiness, that's what it's talking about. That ultimately, all of the physical reality we witness, including our thoughts, our cars, the sandwich we eat, they're all made of vacuum fluctuations. Empty space. How can you have space that's empty? If it's empty, is there space? If there's no space, is there time? What's going on here? It's a transitional state. Buddhists, we know this. From quiescence through formations comes form, namarupa, nidana. We've been talking about it for thousands of years. Continuing the article, although the particles are not directly detectable, of course not, the cumulative effect of these particles are measurable. We sense a fluctuation. Something's happening here. What is it? Formations. So they're identifying ad nauseum that from noumena, from quiescence, there's a transitionary period before there's a thing. They keep using the language of thing, but they are defining that there's something else going on before. You know what it is. For example, without quantum fluctuations, the bare mass and charge of elementary particles would be infinite. They would just pop into existence. And maybe an electron is the size of the sun. We don't know. What governs the size of the electron? Must be some mysterious uncertainty principle honing things. They're looking. They know there's something there. They just don't know how to talk about it. Or they're inventing language to talk about it, right? And here's my favorite thing. This is something, and a lot of physicists, to give credit where credit is due. You know, all of these sciences, they involve mathematicians, physicists, particle physicists, chemists, biologists, all sorts of fields of expertise, brilliant minds. And many of them are upset about this, as I'm pointing out, these terms that conveniently stand in for something they don't really get. In order to make the math work, because when they run the math, they keep ending up with infinities, and that's impossible. So they do some math trick. They invent a constant, or they shift a number, and they call it, I love this term, renormalization. And that sends a chill through me. That sounds like what Hitler was doing, renormalizing Germany. Yeah, let's get rid of all the stuff that we don't like, and then things will be normal again. They're doing it in science, and a lot of physicists are angry about it. They don't like that solution. And good for them, right? But here it is. I'm going to read it for you. So if there was no fluctuation, formation, then anything could be any size I wanted to be. It would go infinity. There would be no border. So from renormalization theory, the shielding effect of the cloud of virtual particles is responsible for the finite mass and charge of elementary particles. And I put in parentheses, this is basically a math trick to account for the energy of quiescence. In other words, all of this formation, fluctuation, it has to happen within something. Otherwise, it's infinite. There's no borders. We'll get a clue. That's quiescent energy. Remember a long time ago, I used to talk about the universe like a drop of food coloring in a big bath of water. What does that drop of food coloring do in the bath of water? It immediately expands until it disappears into that entire volume. Well, there you have it. Fields. Quantum fluctuations in the fields, the Higgs field. The area of instantiation from formations. It's so obvious. All right, I'll finish this article and then I have just a couple of words to say. Another consequence is something you could look up if you're interested, the Casimir effect. One of the first observations, which was evidence for the vacuum fluctuation, so they have evidence for it, was the Lamb shift in hydrogen. In July 2020, it's pretty recent, scientists reported that quantum vacuum fluctuations can influence the motion of macroscopic human-scale objects by measuring correlations below the standard quantum limit between the position, momentum, uncertainty of the mirrors of LIGO, the Large Interferometer Experiment. You know, they're looking for quantum gravity waves, right? Or gravity waves. And the photon number phase uncertainty of light that they reflect. Now, I'm not going to go into that whole thing, but I include that because they have evidence. It's not just talking points and words. They've measured formation. It's happening. We know it's there. That should be exciting as a Buddhist, that even the most ardent physical universe cosmologists, astrophysicists, physicists, mathematicians, they're locating, they're finding this happening. It's not just rhetoric. And I say all the time, Buddhism isn't a religion. Buddhism is about actual occurrence, observable, knowable, reasoned experience, the real. And science continues to prove this out. As a Buddhist, that should give you lots of confidence, yeah? This is really working. I have a reason to continue working on it, making it happen. It is happening. Even if I have doubt, I know at this level, it is surely happening. The only disconnect is my samsaric mind keeps wanting to lead me astray. Shut up, monkeys. This is real, right? All right, I have a little note here, all parentheses mine, so you know as you're reading it that that's not part of the article. And I close with this. This definition may seem a bit much for our Buddhist practice, but it's also interesting support for our curiosity about formations of the engine of life. See in this book, Engine of Life, or Formations. So this is why I talk about quantum fluctuation, not because I want to make you a physicist. Not because I want to impress you with, oh, look, Sifu Sylvain, he talks about quantum fluctuations. I'm no scientist. I'm a Buddhist scientist, if you will. We all are. But don't you find it fascinating that every step of Shakyamuni's enlightenment, he had to have been enlightened, to have known this 3,000 years ago with such clarity, spending over 50 years of his life trying to get people to understand. Even today, people struggle with understanding this. They want to make magic out of it. They want to make mysticism out of it. There's no magic and mysticism in Buddhism. It's just clear grasping the truth, the reality of life. That in itself is so amazing, abundant. Are there words? It's Buddha-ness. So I say again, congratulations. Amazing what you're doing. Don't stop. It can only get bigger, better, and more rewarding. Your sense of life more full, more massive. Keep your practice strong. Help support and grow the Sangha. Take a second to like and subscribe, just for the algorithms. And if they're of use, get the ebooks on threefoldlotus.com. Lots of free information there. Help yourself. The podcasts, all free, no cost, right? These videos, no cost. Well, whatever it costs you to get on the internet and YouTube, I don't know. But there's no cost coming in this way. A little bit from the ebooks, thank you. The print books, the mandalas, just a trickle, just to help offset the costs of doing this, keeping this going. Thank you. Tremendous gratitude, especially to those of you who are on Patreon or on PayPal and sending monthly donations, whether it's $1 or $10 or whatever is economies of scale, what you can afford. It's incredibly important to keep this channel alive, to pay the bills, to make these books, on and on and on, blah, blah, blah. I hate talking about this. I just want you to know how much I appreciate your support and your practice. So keep it up. Next word, quiescence. It's a little bit more Buddhist, maybe. But it comes from science as well. So, and then for some reason in the cues, we're now in the cues of the book, the cues seem to have gone a letter reserved in the English language for scientific dialogue. Anyway, that won't be very long, quiescence. And then we're on rebirth. Finally. Good old Buddhist term. I hope you find all of these helpful and I make them relatable. And the bottom line, increases your resolve, your confidence in your practice. Okay? So with that, I will let you go. Please be kind to yourself. Take care of your health. Keep your practice strong, and I will see you in the next one. Okay? Bye for now.